and welcome to Long Live the Queen, where we talk about the women who made history. And by we, I mean the royal we, because it's just me. Today we're going to talk about Elizabeth of Austria. On July 5, 1554, Elizabeth of Austria was born in Vienna's Hofburg Palace, the second child of Maximilian II, Archduke of Austria, and Maria of Spain. The couple forged in the iron grip of Habsburg ambition. The court hummed with the clink of goblets and the rustle of silk, but Elizabeth's childhood was less fairy tale and more high-stakes chessboard. Her parents, devout Catholics, raised her in a world where dynastic marriages were the currency of power, and her father's liberal leanings, flirting with Protestant ideas, added a whisper of scandal to their household. A year later, on July 27, 1555, her sister Maria arrived, only to die on June 25, 1556, not quite a year old, a grim foreshadowing of the losses that would haunt Elizabeth's life. The nursery filled fast. Matthias, Maximilian, Albert, Wenceslas, Frederick, another Maria, Charles, Margaret, and Eleanor. Though a lot of her siblings died in infancy, the rapid churn of births and deaths taught young Elizabeth that Habsburg grandeur was as fragile as a stained glass window. By the time she was 10, her father became the Holy Roman Emperor Maximilian II, elevating her to imperial princess. Her beauty, pale skin, auburn hair, and a serene gaze made her a prize for Europe's kings, but her heart lay in quieter pursuits. Educated in Latin, French, Spanish, and music, Elizabeth developed a passion for poetry, often scribbling verses in her chamber, a spark that would later illuminate the French court. Gossip alert. Court whispers hinted that Maximilian's flirtation with Protestantism caused tension with his wife Maria, who was fiercely Catholic. Some said Elizabeth, even as a child, mediated between them, her gentle diplomacy a skill she'd later hone in France. And did her governess catch her sneaking love sonnets into her prayer book? The maids swore they saw her blush over a poet's verses, but the evidence is, as usual, lost to time. By her teens, Elizabeth's fate was sealed. In 1569, at 15, she was betrothed to Charles IX of France, a 19-year-old Valois king drowning in the chaos of the French wars of religion. The match, orchestrated by her parents and Charles' mother, Catherine de' Medici, aimed to cement Catholic unity against the rising Huguenot tide. On October 22, 1570, Elizabeth wed Charles by proxy, with her brother Rudolph standing in, a cold formality that set the tone for her marriage. Isn't that what you want on your wedding day? Your little brother standing in for the groom? On November 26, 1570, she arrived in France for the in-person ceremony, stepping into a court where intrigue was as thick as the tapestries. Picture Elizabeth, barely 16, in a golden gown, her heart pounding as she entered a foreign land. The French court was a far cry from Vienna's restraint. Catherine de' Medici's cunning loomed over her frail, moody son, and the air crackled with tension from Catholic Huguenot clashes. Elizabeth's poise and piety won her admirers, but the marriage was more duty than passion. Charles, plagued by tuberculosis and distracted by hunting and mistresses, was a distant husband. Yet Elizabeth's serene smile and fluency in French charmed the court, earning her the nickname the Austrian Angel. She bonded with her sister-in-law, Marguerite of Valois, whose wit echoed Marguerite of Angoulême's, forging a quiet alliance in a den of vipers. More gossip. The French court buzzed with rumors that Charles' favorite, his mistress, eyed Elizabeth with jealousy, whispering that the young queen's piety was a facade to curry favor. Some courtiers swore that Elizabeth caught Charles sneaking off to Marie's chambers, her calm exterior hiding a wounded heart. And was there a fleeting flirtation with a young poet at a court masque? The ladies-in-waiting giggled about a certain mystery sonnet tucked into her sleeve, but Elizabeth's Habsburg dignity kept the truth locked tight. Elizabeth's queenship was tested by fire. On August 18, 1572, the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre erupted, a brutal slaughter of thousands of Huguenots that stained Charles' reign and shocked Europe. Elizabeth, a devout Catholic, was horrified, her prayers in her private chapel a refuge from the bloodshed. Her sister-in-law Marguerite married Henry of Navarre, a Protestant prince, in a union meant to bridge divides, but instead ignited the massacre. Elizabeth, caught in the crossfire, wrote to her mother Maria, lamenting the violence, her letters revealing her heart torn between faith and compassion. On October 27, 1572, Elizabeth gave birth to her only child, Marie Elizabeth, a daughter who brought fleeting joy to a fractured court. The celebration was muted. Charles' health was crumbling, and Catherine's dominance left little room for Elizabeth's influence. On May 30, 1574, Charles died of tuberculosis at 23, leaving Elizabeth a widow at 19. Her heart ached not for a grand romance, but for the fragile boy-king she'd tried to steady. With no son to anchor her, and Catherine's grip unyielding, Elizabeth's role as queen faded like a candle snuffed out. The gossip abounded. Whispers swirled that Catherine sidelined Elizabeth during the massacre, fearing her Habsburg ties might sway Charles toward peace. Some said Elizabeth secretly sent the Huguenot widows her charity, cloaked to avoid Catherine's wrath. And did she clash with Marguerite over Henry of Navarre's Protestant leanings? Courtiers claim the two women, once close, exchanged icy glances at a banquet, their friendship strained by the massacre's fallout. In 1575, Elizabeth returned to Austria, her French crown a distant memory. That same year, on February 21, her sister-in-law, Claude, Duchess of Lorraine, died, another thread in Elizabeth's tapestry of loss. Back in Vienna, she found solace in her family. But grief was relentless. On October 12, 1576, her father Maximilian died, and her brother, Rudolph, ascended as Holy Roman Emperor, ushering in a new, turbulent era. Elizabeth, now 22, turned to her faith, founding a Poor Clares convent in Vienna in 1580, a sanctuary for her soul and other women seeking refuge. The losses piled up. Her daughter, Marie Elizabeth, died on April 2, 1578, at just 5, a blow that left Elizabeth sobbing in her chapel. Her brother, Wenceslas, died on September 22, 1578, at 17, and her sister Eleanor died on March 12, 1580, at 11. Her rosary worn from fervent prayers. The 1580s brought more farewells. Her brother-in-law, Henry, Duke of Anjou, on June 10, 1584, her sister-in-law, Mary, Queen of Scots, beheaded on February 8, 1587, a shocking end that shook Elizabeth's faith in royal justice. Her mother-in-law, Catherine de' Medici, died on January 5, 1589, and her brother-in-law, Henri III of France, was assassinated on August 2, 1589. Each loss chipped away at her world, yet Elizabeth remained a pillar of grace, her convent a testament to resilience. On January 22, 1592, Elizabeth fell ill at her Vienna convent, her delicate frame succumbing, likely to pneumonia. At 37, she slipped away quietly, surrounded by nuns and her surviving siblings. Her legacy as fleeting as a winter sunset. Buried in St. Stephen's Cathedral, she was mourned as a saintly queen whose light burned too briefly, her memory preserved in the convent she founded and the poetry she loved. More gossip. Vienna's court buzzed that Elizabeth's convent was more than a retreat. Some whispered she harbored fugitive nuns escaping French persecution. Her charity a quiet rebellion against the Catholic League. Others swore she corresponded with Elizabeth I of England, sharing cryptic letters about faith and queenship through the Habsburg archives, though the Habsburg archives keep those secrets sealed. And did a certain Spanish envoy linger too long at her convent? Drawn to her angelic aura? The nuns hushed such talk, but the court couldn't resist a good scandal. What did you think about Elizabeth of Austria? You can share your thoughts with me at longlivethequeenpodcast@gmail.com. Slide into my DMs on Facebook or Instagram at longlivethequeenpodcast, or join the royal court on Patreon for extended episodes and bonus content. On Wednesdays, we dish about centuries-old gossip. Long live to all the queens out there, and until next time, bye.
Thanks for listening.